This podcast is sponsored by eBay Canada. eBay Canada has been supporting Canadian small business retailers for 25 years. With their up and running program, you can access eBay's 180 plus million buyers in 190 countries around the world. With up and running, there are no listing fees on up to 200 listings per month, and you only pay fees when you sell. As part of the eBay community, you get real-time advice and inspiration and access to powerful selling tools and insights. Go to ebay.ca/up and running, stay local, and sell global.
Welcome to Canada's podcast, the number one podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs.
I'm your host, Mario Toneguzzi, and joining me today is Jeff Adamson, who is co-founder of Neo Financial in Calgary. He's also a former co-founder of SkipTheDishes. Thanks for joining us today, Jeff.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mario.
Okay, Jeff, let's start with a simple question. What is Neo Financial?
So Neo is a financial technology company that is really reimagining everyday banking for Canadians, right from the ground up, and making everyday spending and saving the most rewarding experience possible.
So how, maybe give me a little history of how you started and more so with the why of why you started this.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the formation and the idea behind Neo has come from our experience building and scaling SkipTheDishes. And, we actually started up Skip just out of a basement in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And as we grew the company, we kind of saw the experience that customers have come to expect. And we saw that, people could start to hail a cab from their mobile phone. They can order from tens of thousands of restaurants from their mobile device. And on the banking side, it had really kind of lagged behind. The majority of Canadians bank with the top 5 banks. They have about 90% market share in Canada. And the experience should be one that is really, really rewarding to a consumer, because most people, they actually stay with their banks for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
And also, if you look at other parts of the world, the banking industries in those parts of the world have really, really evolved. If you look at what's going on in China, they have super apps where you can book a hotel, order food, send money all from one app. Same thing in Brazil, in the UK. But in Canada, it's kind of been fairly stagnant. So we thought there was an opportunity for us to reimagine what banking could be and really help Canadians make banking and spending and saving a lot more rewarding than it is right now.
So when did you actually start?
So Neo started up last year.
Okay.
So we had one of the co-founders of SkipTheDishes, Andrew Chow, had actually been kind of thinking about doing something in the consumer space. And just in general, Canada hasn't had a lot of consumer brands that have been built over the last couple of decades. If you think of the most popular consumer brands, there really hasn't been massive consumer brands in Canada aside from Lululemon, BlackBerry. I'd like to throw SkipTheDishes into the mix as well, but the majority of those consumer brands are kind of legacy, older ones like Canadian Tire, The Bay, Superstore. Okay. So Andrew had actually had the idea of building a consumer brand in banking and started up last year.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the digital world? And you mentioned it, right? The digital world that we find ourselves in today has been growing, obviously, over the past few years, but kind of accelerated here in the last 4 months due to the COVID environment. How important is it for businesses in this day and age to hop aboard that digital train?
Honestly, Mario, I think it's critical, and it couldn't be even more critical now, more than ever, because of the fact of consumers are shifting their purchases online. But we've been seeing this for a long time. This is not something that's new. We've seen digital and e-com has been growing rapidly, and I think the imperative is so much stronger because of COVID. And even if you think of just consumers in general, the average Canadian checks their phone every 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Spending 5 to 8 hours of their waking day on their mobile devices. And these are experiences like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, your browsers, your email, your chat.
Yeah.
That's what consumers are really using every single day, hours of their day. And what they're doing is they're transferring those expectations over to their everyday experiences with other brands.
Yeah.
And so what we've seen, and we saw this at Skip the Dishes, and we're seeing it today, is this expectation gap where consumers are transferring their expectations of what they get with their digital experiences: seamless, instant gratification, gamification, frictionless, and they're transferring that over to their offline experiences. And I think that's where I think businesses are falling short today and really, really need some help.
Okay. So, in terms of setting up Neo, what were some of your biggest, you obviously set up at a very difficult time, right? A difficult time in the economy, in Calgary, like we've been feeling the devastation since late October or late
Mm-hmm.
2014 with the collapse of the oil prices. It's a
Yeah.
6-year ongoing thing here soon with the struggling economy. What were the challenges, I guess, of starting a new business in that environment and in Calgary right now?
I think in general, Mario, it's really challenging to start any business, and there isn't, at least from my experience, there's no good or bad time to start a business. And I think because ultimately it's going to come down to the team that you have and the idea that you have. And I think you have to take into consideration all the different factors that are going into getting your company off the ground. For me and the team that we've built here at Neo, the most important thing is the why behind what we're building. And for us, when we were starting up Skip the Dishes, it was really about building a company that can really put the prairies on the map when it comes to technology. And I grew up in Saskatchewan, and we were big into government, large companies like Potash Corp, Cameco, and there wasn't really a lot of technology. There wasn't really a lot of tech startups. I actually didn't even know what a tech startup was when we started Skip the Dishes. And so for us, we really wanted to prove that it could be done in the prairies, and to show others that perhaps if they are thinking about doing a tech startup, that they don't need to go to Silicon Valley to do it. They don't need to go to Europe in order to actually build a tech startup. And I think when we think of Neo, it was really building on that theme of saying, well, let's look at Alberta. Where is there a great need for companies to be doing something different? If you're an ambitious, bright, hardworking person who wants to contribute to the tech economy, who wants to kind of ride the wave of the age of information,
Yeah.
how are you going to do that in Canada right now? How are you going to do that in Alberta? You have to have companies that are starting up, that are giving these people the opportunity so that they can pursue their dreams here at home. And whether that's Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, I think there's a really, really big need for it.
This podcast is sponsored by eBay Canada. eBay Canada is powering Canadian small businesses. Go to ebay.ca/up and running to open your new global e-commerce business.
Let's go back in time a little bit and look at Skip the Dishes. Can you tell me just how that started and where that idea came from?
Yeah, so I think when people ask about Skip, there's a lot of people who think, well, like, hey, well, what an incredible idea. You can order from tens of thousands of restaurants from your mobile phone. But the idea behind doing that has been around for ages. I mean, food delivery is not a new concept. And I think that when we think of the idea behind it, we're really just applying new technology to an industry that had kind of fallen behind a little bit on it. And it's not that like there's companies in every single city that Skip operates in that were offering food delivery, but had no one that had really taken mobile technology and had really pulled together multiple different things in order to make Skip the Dishes work. We'd seen in other countries that food delivery was much more popular, and we believe that the idea of introducing food delivery as a way of helping save people time and to give people more time back in their day so they could spend it on the things that they love.
Yeah.
That was always a central theme at Skip, was really talking about hey, like let someone else take care of the cooking so that you can do the things that you love, whether that's calling your grandma you haven't talked to in a while, taking care of your kids, playing with them. And we had countless stories. Probably one of the most rewarding things, Mario, was the countless stories we would get of people saying like, you know what, I hadn't, I was so exhausted from work, and Skip allowed me to actually just take a break and spend some time with my kids. And those are the stories, or even when you listen to some of the independent restaurants we work with that say, hey, Jeff, I've actually paid and put my kids through college with the additional revenue that Skip has brought us. Or I finally had enough revenue to renovate my restaurant for the first time in 20 years. So those are the things that really, I think, kept us going and allowed us to continue working hard at building.
Were you Are you surprised at how big Skip the Dishes got?
I think I would definitely be lying if I told you I predicted Justin Trudeau saying everyone should stay indoors and order food delivery. I, that was a surprise, but I think we always believed strongly that there was a huge need for it in Canada. And when we started out, less than 8% of the restaurants in Canada offer delivery. And now there's tens and tens of thousands that offer them through whether that's Skip or other food delivery platforms.
Yeah.
But I think, no, did I imagine that I would be standing up talking to thousands of employees at our company in today? I didn't predict that at all.
Okay, and just for clarification, Jeff, you're no longer with Skip the Dishes, right? Or are you?
Yeah, so I left Skip summer of last year
Okay.
to start up Neo.
Okay, super. What lessons did you learn from being an entrepreneur through Skip the Dishes that are key in helping you establish Neo?
So, Mary, I don't have an entrepreneurial bone in my body. I do not come from an entrepreneurial family. My mom was, a part-time pharmacist. My dad was a firefighter, and we grew up in I'd say, kind of pretty ordinary family in Saskatchewan. And I think there was always this kind of mysticism around entrepreneurship, that you kind of had to have it in your DNA. And I think what I have learned is that it is something that anyone can do. You don't need to be this like gunslinging, swashbuckling entrepreneur that you kind of see. You don't need to be an Elon Musk. But I think the thing that you do need is you need to have a great team. And I think what I've learned is just the value of having a great team of people around you that really complement your skills, and learning how to work together with people. That's something that I think has been one of the most valuable lessons to me from building, and it's something I'm still learning every day as we build Neo.
Okay. So where were you from in Saskatchewan?
I grew up in a small community just south of Saskatoon called Grasswood.
Uh-huh.
It's famous for its Esso. There's an Esso gas station. I think they might have a Subway now. But I spend a lot of time in Saskatoon, though.
Okay, super then. And I see by your LinkedIn profile now, did I get this right, that you were a wrestler at one point?
Yeah, at one point, and I'm still involved a little bit, but yeah, my background is I was a wrestler for the majority of my adult life, actually, competing with Team Canada.
Oh, okay. And Pan American Games medalist, correct?
Yeah, and 2011, I was fortunate enough to go to the Pan Am Games in Mexico.
Okay. What did you learn from sports that that helped you in your career as a business person?
At Skip and at Neo, Mario, we work with tons of athletes. Like we look for athletes because
Oh, wow.
people generally, from my experience, if you've kind of dedicated yourself to something like sport, it really does teach you a lot about yourself. It teaches you about how to really focus on a goal, how to achieve goals, and then more importantly is like when you fall short of those goals and you have obstacles, how do you get back up again?
Yeah.
And how do you work together to achieve kind of a common goal? And For me, it's been one of the most important things has been transferring all the lessons I've learned from my pursuit of a high performance sport um, into business. And like even at Neo, we have multiple time Olympians, guys like Jesse Lumsden,
Oh, wow.
Barrett Martineau. These are like high performance athletes
Yeah.
that are now taking that drive and determination that they have and focusing it on something like Neo, which is aiming to help millions of Canadians. And so I think for a lot of them, and myself included, it's about saying, hey, like everyone here has achieved something great in the past, but no one here has their best days behind them.
Mm.
They're here, dedicated, focused on building something that's going to impact millions of Canadians.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I don't know if you know, but my background, I came to Calgary in 1980, and from 1980 right through the Olympics in '88, my background as a journalist was in sports, and so
Oh,
that's what I did. I covered sports, all kinds of sports, including as I said, the Olympics, and also like international and high performance sports. And I moved on from that, obviously. But what I found interesting over the years, especially with that, I have had a strong business background in terms of reporting. What I found is how many of those athletes that I dealt with in the '80s have become successful business people in Calgary.
really?
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah. So there's
Well,
obviously
yeah.
something that foundational in the sports background to help in terms of achievement in business.
Well, and maybe this is a conversation for over a coffee or a beer, but
Yeah.
I think there is a massive opportunity in Canada because we have so many great athletes to really help transition them into high performance business. And
Yeah.
right now, I think it is happening. There are some organizations like Game Plan that are really doing a great job of transitioning athletes into kind of life after sport. But I think there's such a high ceiling on it, Mario, and I think that we could be doing a lot better job for sure.
Yeah. Okay then. Is there anything you'd like to add, Jeff, before you leave us today?
I think I mean just in general, I think we're really excited at Neo to really start figuring out how do we help the small businesses across Canada. And I think that as we've seen with Shopify just crushing their earnings, having revenue
Yeah.
double year over year, I think the next wave is really not just helping local businesses leverage online and e-com and make it easier for people to sell online. We've got to be helping out businesses leverage data in their business. And I think that the challenge is that it's great to have people making it easier for people to sell online. I think we've really got to be figuring out for these small businesses where the majority of their sales are happening offline, how do they leverage data to grow their business? How do they connect with customers in a way that isn't costly? And right now, what I'm concerned about is that all of the ways for a business to connect with their customers are prohibitively expensive, whether that's billboards or radio. And the data that they need to connect with their customers is often kind of siloed and unavailable to them. And so I think that one of our missions here at Neo is really to democratize that data, to make it easier for these businesses to access this data so they can personalize their interactions with customers. And yeah, we're really excited to see that kind of go to market in Western Canada this year.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us today, Jeff.
Okay, thanks, Mario.
Okay, that was Jeff Adamson, who is co-founder of Neo Financial in Calgary, and he also was the co-founder of SkipTheDishes. This has been Calgary's podcast. I'm your host, Mario Toneguzzi. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube.
This podcast is sponsored by eBay Canada. eBay Canada is here to help. They've been supporting Canadian small business retailers for 25 years, and their up and running program is getting Canadian businesses online today. Visit ebay.ca/up and running. Stay local and sell global with eBay.